can't exactly remember where I first heard about the Devil's Stone Inn. Perhaps it was from a story my father told when I was a child. Or maybe it was a rumor from a friend during those sleepless nights of youth. But gradually, the name etched itself into my mind, as if it had always been there, waiting for me to explore it. It wasn't a famous place, but for those who understood the supernatural world, the Devil's Stone was more than just an old inn. It was a gateway to darkness. I grew up with tales of demon hunters. My father, someone I never thought of as a hero, was one of them. I always wondered what drove him to choose such a path. Maybe it was the sense of responsibility, an invisible force that urged him to protect others from things they couldn't see or understand. Later, as I grew up and started following in his footsteps, I realized that responsibility wasn't just about protecting others. It was about battling with yourself, fighting against fear, doubt, and the darkness that lurked deep within. When I arrived at the Devil's Stone Inn, dusk had already fallen. The last light of the day was sinking beneath the horizon, leaving behind faint beams of sunlight streaming through the inn's dirty windows. The hanging plants in front of the entrance, once vibrant and colorful, now stood as dried-up corpses, withering branches. The brick walls, once white and pristine, had turned gray, covered in dust. The inn looked like it had been forgotten for a long time, but in the faint twilight, I sensed something menacing, something lurking in the shadows. Waiting. "Are you sure you're ready?" The frail voice of Mrs. McCain, the innkeeper, sounded behind me. She was an elderly woman, with facial lines etched from years of suffering. Her eyes were red, not only from fear but from the loss. Her daughter, Eden, had disappeared a few days earlier, and she believed the malevolent forces in the basement had taken her. I nodded, saying nothing. In truth, I wasn't sure, but I had faced too many confrontations with otherworldly forces to know that when you confront evil, no one is ever truly ready. I stepped into the inn, feeling an immediate chill. It wasn't the kind of cold from weather or wind, but a cold that came from within, a cold that seeped into the soul. Each of my footsteps echoed, bouncing off the old walls as if the inn was whispering to itself, reflecting buried secrets long forgotten. Mrs. McCain quietly followed behind me. "I can't go into the basement," she said, her voice trembling. "But you have to find her. I can't lose her." "I understand," I replied. "I'll bring her back. But first, we need to prepare." I placed my hand on the water gun, something that seemed like a child's toy, but to me, it was a weapon against evil. The water inside wasn't ordinary water. It was holy water, blessed by a priest I trusted. Inside my coat, I felt the silver dagger, one of the most effective weapons against demons. But material preparations were never enough. In my mind, I had to battle the fear, to hold firm to the belief that I could overcome it. We moved deeper into the darkness. The basement appeared in front of me like a gaping mouth, ready to swallow anyone who dared enter. Mrs. McCain stood frozen at the threshold, unwilling to step further. "I'll wait here," she said. I nodded, took a deep breath, and stepped down the stairs, feeling as though I was walking into another world, a place where light could not reach. The basement of the Devil's Stone Inn was like a maze. Everything seemed out of the natural order. I took each step carefully, feeling as though everything around me was changing. The cold stone walls seemed alive, whispering, breathing, and occasionally, I felt an invisible gaze watching me from the shadows. Tales of demons were always full of eerie details, but nothing could prepare me for the reality of facing an unseen force, powerful enough to distort both space and time. Each step seemed to stretch into infinity. I turned back to look at the stairs, but they had disappeared, or at least, I could no longer see them. Only darkness surrounded me, and my steady breathing echoed through the space. "Where's the demon?" I wondered to myself, trying not to let fear take over. I knew it was here, hiding somewhere, waiting. "Father!" A scream came from ahead. I recognized the voice of Eden, Mrs. McCain's daughter. I hurried forward, but it seemed impossible to get closer. The space was distorting, as if I was running on a never-ending treadmill. Figures flickered in the corner of my vision, and then a shape emerged. It was Eden, but no longer the Eden of before. Her face was pale, her eyes glowed red, and a twisted smile crept across her lips. "Run, Father!" she screamed, but her lips didn't move. I could feel a powerful force possessing her body. The confrontation between me and the demon began immediately. There was no need for words. I knew this would be a battle not only of the body but of the mind. Dark whispers echoed in my head, trying to weaken my resolve. The demon didn't reveal itself physically but wormed its way into my thoughts, striking at my deepest vulnerabilities. I raised the water gun, aiming directly at Eden, or rather, the demon inside her. A stream of holy water shot out, but instead of hitting the demon, it deflected back, forcing me to step back. "You think that will defeat me?" the demon sneered, his deep voice echoing from Eden's mouth. "I have been here longer than time itself. You are nothing but a mere mortal." I felt the fear rising in my chest, but I couldn't give up. "I've faced worse than you," I said, though I didn't fully believe my own words. What should I do next? My plan didn't seem to be working, but then I remembered what my father once said: "When you face the darkness, only the light of faith can drive it away." I stood in the thick darkness of the Devil's Stone Inn's basement, my breath heavy but refusing to step back. The shadows around me moved, twisting like invisible ghosts, and in the center was Eden, or rather, the shape of Eden, now possessed by the demon. The rumors about this place had never prepared me to face such malevolence in person. The demon smirked, its twisted grin distorting Eden's pale face. "You can't save her," it whispered, its voice like wind howling in the night. "She belongs to me, just like everyone else who has come here. None of them escaped." I didn't respond immediately. My mind raced, filled with countless thoughts, each one clouded by fear and despair. But I couldn't let that control me. I had to stay calm. I had to find a way to defeat it. I remembered what my father had once said about dark entities. They weren't just strong in supernatural powers. They attacked the mind, exploiting the deepest fears of humans. This wasn't just a physical battle. It was a battle of wits. And to win a battle of wits, I needed to throw it off guard. "I'm not afraid of you," I said, my voice steady. "You may have taken over Eden's body, but her soul still belongs to the light." The demon laughed loudly, its laughter echoing through the space, shaking the walls around us. "Light? You are foolish, just like your father. All of you are deceived by what you call the light. The light you speak of is nothing but a trick. Here, I am the one in control." The demon's words shook me, but I didn't let my uncertainty show. I knew that to defeat it, I had to control myself first. I had to understand the demon's psyche, make it doubt itself, and ultimately, defeat it. I moved closer to Eden, gripping the bright green water gun tightly, staring directly into the demon's eyes. "You may control this space, but you don't control me," I said, "and you certainly won't control Eden forever. The human spirit is stronger than you think." As I fought to keep my composure, the demon changed tactics. It no longer tried to attack me directly but instead slithered into the darkest corners of my mind. Memories from my past surfaced, memories of pain I had buried long ago. I saw visions of my father, the man who had inspired me to take up the path of demon hunting. But in those memories, I also saw his failures. He had faced demons far more powerful than I could imagine. But in the end, even he had fallen. I remembered his final moments, when he returned home after a failed demon hunt, exhausted and weak. He had warned me about the dangers of this work, but I didn't listen. "Look at yourself," the demon whispered in my mind. "Your father failed, and so will you. You are no different from him. An arrogant fool who thinks he can face forces beyond human understanding." The demon's words began to erode my confidence. I started to question whether I could really defeat it. But then, I remembered why I was here. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for Eden and for all the others who had been taken by this demon. This wasn't the time to doubt myself. No, I said loudly, as if speaking to myself. My father may have failed, but I'm not him. I won't let you control my mind. I raised the water gun high and fired a stream of holy water directly at Eden. The demon shrieked, and Eden's body convulsed. But the demon still wasn't defeated. I knew I had to do more. The real battle was no longer taking place in the cold basement of the Devil's Stone Inn, but inside my mind. The demon relentlessly attacked my weaknesses, forcing me to confront memories and fears I had tried to forget. But I also knew that to defeat it, I had to make it doubt its own power. Do you really think you can hold onto her soul forever? I asked, trying to lure the demon into a conversation. You may be stronger than me, but you will never be stronger than human willpower. Eden is still here, and she will never submit to you. The demon sneered. Human willpower? What a joke. You think there's still hope for her? She's belonged to me for a long time now. You can't change that. But I realized that, despite the demon's confidence, it was beginning to show signs of weakness, kept asserting its power, as if it needed to convince itself of that power. This was my chance. I stepped closer to Eden, keeping my voice steady. You may be strong, but you also know you can't hold onto a human soul forever. The truth is, you fear being banished by the light, fear losing your power, and that fear will be your downfall. The demon roared, its voice shaking the walls of the basement. Silence! You know nothing of my power. I smiled slightly, though I still felt tense inside. No, it's you who doesn't understand the power of faith and light. You will be defeated. I could feel the decisive moment approaching. The demon grew more aggressive, which meant it could sense its power was weakening. I knew I couldn't give up now. I had to keep pushing, not just with physical weapons but with faith and willpower. I drew the silver dagger from my coat, the faint light from it reflecting in the thick darkness. I approached Eden, determined to free her from the demon's control. You've lost, I said firmly. Give back the girl's soul, or you will be banished forever. The demon screamed, but this time, his voice wasn't as strong as before. It knew its time was running out. I raised the dagger, ready to deliver the final blow. But before I could strike, the demon relinquished its hold on Eden. She collapsed to the floor, unconscious but still alive. I knelt beside Eden, checking her pulse. She was still breathing, but it was clear she had been through a terrible nightmare. I looked around at the darkness surrounding us, realizing that even though the demon had been defeated, the darkness of the inn would never completely disappear. As I helped Eden up the stairs, Mrs. McCain rushed toward us, tears streaming down her face. My daughter, she cried. She's still alive. I nodded, but inside, I still felt a sense of emptiness. I had saved Eden, but I knew that the battle against darkness would never truly end. Perhaps my father had been right when he said that the darkness never fully goes away. It only retreats temporarily, waiting to come back stronger. Mrs. McCain hugged her daughter tightly, filled with gratitude, but I knew that I would never have such peace. I was a demon hunter, and my mission was to confront the darkness, even if it meant constantly facing my own fears. The story of the Devil's Stone Inn wasn't just a tale of confronting demons. It was a story of inner struggle, about humans having to face their deepest fears to overcome them. For me, this battle wasn't just about saving Eden from the demon's grasp. It was about confronting the shadows within my own soul. I learned that the darkness never fully disappears. It waits, seeking opportunities to return. But as long as we hold on to faith, as long as we don't let fear consume us, we can still triumph. I left the Devil's Stone Inn with a lesson deeply etched into my mind. Evil may be powerful, but human faith and willpower are stronger. The key is never to give up, even when the darkness surrounds you.